Hey guys, welcome to part 3 of the Gingerbread Man tutorial. This is Aleksey and we're going to cover materials and rendering in this one. Let's go. So, start with just putting in the colors. I double click on the material window, make a new material. My default material is plain white. No specular, nothing, just 100%. This thing is sent to HSV. If you don't know how to do that, check out my materials tutorial. Covers all of there. So you've set all the material. If you do get the default material to be white, you select it, and then here in attributes, you go edit, set as default. Useful thing to keep in mind. Anyway, first material is going to be our gingerbread color. So, about right. Let's drag it onto the guy. Let's get another one. Just control click and drag to copy it over. The next one is going to be our blue eyebrows. There we go. Control click and drag. Our red pink mouth. Click and drag. Our plain white material. Click and drag. And a purple one for the buttons. Purple. Awesome. Let's drag this onto the button, eyes, the eyebrows, the mouth, whoops. The mouth. There it is. The mouth. And let's get all of these already in one group. Good. Cross them. Done. No, really, I'm kidding. Okay, sorry. I don't like the thinness of this frosting, to be honest. I'm going to scale these guys. Then I'm going to select all of these. And I'm going to scale them. Make the whole thing a bit thicker. There you go. That looks better. Maybe even damage belt. Go out a bit more. Just this guy, sorry. I'm a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to things that I'm doing. There you go. That feels better. Wonderful. So let's keep going. Okay, so we got the default colors. Let's stick a plane. Obviously, we're gonna keep working on the materials. Let's move this guy up on top of the plane. Let's scale the plane up. Let's add a direct sunlight, infinite. Sorry, my direct sunlight needs to have a couple of features turned off. Shadow map should be hard, and this should be none. No fall off. Yours probably doesn't have this problem. Yours probably just has no shadows turned on. So switch them to hard. I just have a default light which has fall off turned on because I use those more often. So we have a little man, render, not quite what we want. White material on the ground, white material on the sky, white material on the sky. We're getting there. Okay, let's go to render settings, which are here, or Control B to bring them up. Effects, global illumination, IR plus QMC, and hit render. Looks better, still not what we want. Okay, so first things first. First, I don't like how this guy is just one yellow color. I prefer him to be a gradient. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go texture Fresnel here. No, not Fresnel, sorry. I'm going to add a gradient. As you can see, this guy is not UV matte. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the projection on this guy, body here. We're gonna change the projection attributes to flat. And we're gonna go to the texture tool and we're gonna rotate it, holding the shift key to lock them. We're gonna switch to the scale tool and we're gonna scale it up. We're gonna move it to the bottom of his feet here. We're going to, there we go. This new version of Cinema 4D does really odd texture working tools. Anyway, we scale it up, so it goes from black to white along his body. We delete this tag on the arms, and we control click and drag this tag. That way we have the same gradient going through the arms and the little man. Or maybe not the same gradient. Yeah, let's move this. There we go. So yeah, in R14 you click the red arrow, but you move it left. You move the mouse left and right instead of up and down. Go figure. Okay, you'll be wondering, why did we make him like this? Well, because we're gonna go back to our material, double click on it, and we're gonna change this mix mode here to add. And now, as you can see, he went kind of weird. So we're gonna change this mix strength to like 24. We're gonna change this black to a nice gray, and we're gonna make this a bit of a darker brown here. Or use multiply. No, we should use subtract, definitely not. No, add, seems about right. Let's just bring it down to not as noticeable. Okay, now let's make it smaller and let's hit render. There we go, so we already have a much nicer effect. I still don't particularly like the color, so let's make it a bit darker. Let's render it again. There we go, that looks better. Scale this down a bit, make them a bit more orange. Nope, to orange. Bring them back to yellow, scale this up a bit to yellow. There we go. I want it to be a bit more burnt at the bottom, so let's make this a bit darker. Looks about right, maybe a bit brownish. This is really, do this to your own taste, but I like this. This seems about, no, I don't, I'm sorry. Let's make them a bit more yellow. There you go, that's better. So there you go, the settings are 41, 189. Wonderful. Next step. We want to, you notice here right now, the eyebrows and all these like little objects, like the eyebrows and the mouth especially, they don't seem to have a lot of volume or value. Like, they're kind of flattish. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into the blue one, and we're going to go color, and we're going to go Fresnel, and we're going to go add, and maybe scale it down a bit. And now, see that these kind of just pop. Maybe just make it a bit less, so it's not as obvious. But Fresnel is a very nice effect. You can use it in reflection, you can use it everywhere. It just makes the outside, like if you see here, let's make the next one, pink one. What it does is it basically makes things that are on a front-on angle be black, and the things that are at a steep angle be white. It's good to use in the reflection channel, but it's also good in the material channel. You know, switch it to add, and suddenly, you know, you don't have a flat color, you actually have a grading color. And if you notice, most surfaces actually do change like that. Like they have different qualities depending on what angle you look at them. So there you go. Now this one, let's copy this material over. Let's call this floor sky, because the floor sky is fine. So let's delete from here. Let's apply the floor sky one, and call this one frosting, because I want to make this frosting material a bit darker than it is right now. And then I want to add the same Fresnel thing to it. Because now we'll have a much nicer effect. There you go, see it's okay. It just adds a bit of volume to the whole object, you know, it's nice. So each object is, so the white things aren't just like white and they're great, but they actually have, you know, it's, I don't know, I like it. It's a nice effect, kind of simulates light bouncing or something. So also this yellow material is kind of plain right now. It's meant to be like a cookie. So let's go to the bump channel, texture, and let's add a noise. Now if we render it out now, probably won't really be what we need it to be. It isn't what we need it to be at all. Can't even see it. Oh, because we forgot to turn it on. There we go. Now if we hit render. Not quite the cookie material I was hoping for. So let's select it. And let's change the global scale to like 5. And let's hit render. And already that looks a lot better. Let's drag it down to maybe like 11%. And there it is. Although I think maybe 5% is too small. Let's change it to like 15. But a bit more of a big, it's not just. It looks nicer. Let's even make it up to 25 maybe. Otherwise it's kind of, you know, scales it. It's too small. Maybe I'll put it to 20. 20 I think is good. Somewhere in between those last two. Yep, that's the way I like it. Okay, next step. We want to, because we want to add a bit of more punch where the objects are around the eyes and stuff. So we're going to turn on some ambient occlusion. We're not going to turn it on for the whole scene because we don't need it on all the objects. All we need is just on this yellow cookie material. So we're going to use the diffusion channel. What the diffusion channel does is it basically grabs anything you throw at it and it makes it black and white. And then it applies it on top of the color channel. So if I just throw a gradient in there, you'll see it makes it black, yellow, nothing difficult. And if you plug a normal image into here, just converts it to grayscale and applies it on top. This is very useful for stuff like ambient occlusion. So effects, ambient occlusion. Now, there's one issue right now we have. We have these two features called minimum ray length and maximum ray length. Right now the maximum ray length is 100 centimeters. And if you know what ambient occlusion does, basically it darkens the areas which are between two objects. Like, let me show you, for example, let's make a new file here. Let's get a cube, let's get a plane. Let's make the plane bigger. Let's move this cube out a bit. Let's move this other cube here. So now I have two cubes. Now let's add an ambient occlusion, the color, ambient occlusion, and let's put on the plane. Now, if we hit render now, see it has this kind of shadow thing around it. Let's move this. Yep. Awesome. Now, the length of the shadow is determined by that value that I said, which was maximum length 100 centimeters. These cubes right now, they're 200 centimeters each. So the maximum distance is like 100. So if we move this guy, you know, half the length of a cube, and we hit render, we get nothing on the ground. But we move him here, and see now there's an effect there. So basically that's what ambient occlusion does. But this feature here, if we just leave it at default, you know, Gingerbread Man. Yep. And we just hit render, the ambient occlusion will be going way too far for what we need. Like, it works, but it spreads out too far because we don't need it to go really far at all. We need to just be around the edges, just to add a tiny bit of punch. So what you do is you make a little cube, you go to a move tool, you scale it down, and you move it up here so you can see, for example, where the eye is. And I want maximum length to be like this far. This is how far I want any of the shadow to be affected. I don't want it to spread out far. This is it. So, and the size of this cube now, we can click on it and we can see is only 20 centimeters, 19.2. So here now, ambient occlusion, I'm going to plug in 20 centimeters. And now I'm going to render this guy in the viewport. Whoops, that's way too big. Render settings, output 512. And now we can, just to compare, we can see the difference with and without ambient occlusion. See how it just adds that little punch to all the, to just like the shadow areas? That's great. And look, the render time is like 2 seconds different. Well, okay, maybe it's like 20% difference. It's 3 to 5. But it's, you know, it doesn't affect the floor. It only affects just the object that we need. You know, we could even probably jack this up to 25 centimeters. Put this down so you can compare. We should turn the diffusion back on. Click this last one. So we have off, on. Now it's 20 centimeters and this one's going to be 25 centimeters. Tiny difference, barely noticeable, but I like this 25. Okay, now the only thing that's bugging me is this material, this noise, is not looking quite the way I want it to look. Let's take it down to 6%. Oops. That looks nicer. But there's something about it that doesn't sit quite right with me. Just seems to pop too much. This is better. Okay, sweet. Look, it's shaping up. Now we have to do these little gumdrop buttons. That's the part that's left. So let's get our purple material out. Materials, purple. So firstly, let's do the same thing as we did with the other ones. For now, this is a great approach. Make it add. Scale it back a bit. Now let's add some displacement to these buttons because we're going to be making them lumpy. So let's go to texture and let's add a noise material. Let's make it this, where is those one? Electric. And let's hit render. And you can see they got lumpy and turned around. So let's skip this carousel button 2, 1. Let's rotate this button because right now they both look the same. This way, they will now look different. Good. And let's scale this displacement down. It's a bit excessive right now. Let's take it down to like 40%. Much better. But I also, right now it's kind of regular. So what I want to do is I want to layer one noise on top of another noise. So I want to go in here. No, I want to click this arrow and I want to change it to layer. And now you'll see you have a layer and you have this normal noise. And you have shader. Add another noise. And this will be just normal noise, but we'll scale. I'll actually leave it as it is. We'll turn it to multiply. And maybe scale it back a bit. And now we should have a much less regular pattern. There we go. It's just like it. If you just add one noise, it's very obvious that you have like a regular noise on it. But if you add one noise, another noise, and multiply them on top of each other, it gives a more interesting effect. So there we go. Great. We have our buttons done. That wasn't difficult. You can also experiment by adding a bump to it if you want. It's up to you, but I'd probably scale it up. I don't know. It's really a personal choice how much noise you want. There we go. I think it looks better now. Okay, so we got little gumdrop buttons. We got a little Gingerbread Man. And wow, we covered the whole thing. Look at us fitting into what we need to do. you know what, let's reduce this head a bit. I think this Fresnel and the color is a bit too strong. Too weak. Just right. Maybe I should make a 3 bears tutorial next. Anyway, so we get our little, let's do a bigger render just to see that everything's right. Bring up to 800. So here's our little gingerbread man. Notice it renders quickly, just with the default GI settings, because don't keep the diffuse depth at 1. Don't max it at, don't increase it, it'll screw things up. But it's IR plus QMC. We have a sunlight, we have some ambient occlusion. Okay, these buttons are way too lumpy. I'm sorry, I cannot just let you leave them like that. Let's take the strength down a bit. That's better. Okay, so there we have it. We have our gingerbread man. We modeled him, we added materials, we added lighting, we discussed how to add little bevels underneath objects so that they're not just flush among. So geometry, when it's next to each other, it actually looks like it's something real, like there's actually, some connection between the two objects, like they were actually placed there. Ambient occlusion adds a bit of punch. It adds like a bit of contrast to the places where objects join each other. If you apply it just to one object, the render time doesn't go up as much. If you combine this technique with the technique that I showed you in the tree tutorial, where I get trees for the background, this is an example where it all works together really well. If you get the trees and you turn off GI for them with compositing tags, and you put this guy in there, then and this guy's animated, so he can run around, but the trees they still render instantly. Very convenient. Yeah, so hopefully in the next sequence of tutorials I'll show you how to rig him, but we'll talk about that later. That's still in the works. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Now you can make your very own gingerbread man. Have fun with it. Check out Ace5 Education, CG Tuts, in case you're looking at this tutorial somewhere else. And share your support, like the Facebook pages, subscribe to something. Yeah. So I'll see you in the next tutorial.